Welcome everybody to this week's episode of The Ring Zone. I'm Stephen Charles, along with me is Albert Bettis, and we're going to cover today's hottest wrestling news, rumors, results, anything in professional wrestling. If it happens in professional wrestling, it's going to happen in The Ring Zone, coming up next.
In our top story, legendary British wrestler Billy Robinson passed away here on March the 3rd at his home near Little Rock, Arkansas. He was 75. Some of his accomplishments as an amateur: in 1957 he was the British National Champion. In 1958 he won the European Open Light Heavyweight Championship. He came to notoriety in the United States with Vern Gagne's AWA, where he was a three-time AWA British Empire Heavyweight Champion and a two-time AWA Tag Team Champion. He would go on to become the trainer for the AWA, where he trained such greats as Ric Flair, Iron Sheik, Ricky Steamboat, among others. In 1982, he wrestled WWF champion Bob Backlund to a 60-minute draw. After he left professional wrestling, he began training others in the catch-style wrestling. Many, including MMA legend, the Gracie Killer, Sakuraba, over in Japan, where he is very famous for his legendary catch skills. Billy Robinson will be missed. Our condolences to the Robinson family.
The latest news on the Hall of Fame. WWE Hall of Fame has a new member. This time it is Paul Bearer. Began his career in 1979 as Percy Pringle. Managed Rick Rude in old WCCW to a world title. Of course, most famously, Percy Pringle managed The Undertaker as the character Paul Bearer. Oh yes, my Undertaker! From 1991 to 1996. And then he joined forces with Mankind during, Mick Foley's rivalry with The Undertaker. Later went on to manage Vader, and finally bringing his son Kane into the mix. Kane returned to take on Taker as a revenge ploy here. Then in WrestleMania 19, of course, who can forget joining The Undertaker again when The Undertaker came back in the old hat and coat after those horrible, horrible biker Taker years. Paul Bearer later returned in 2010 after he had been buried in cement, folks. And apparently that didn't kill him off. Paul Bearer and the mystique of The Undertaker and Paul Bearer, after Taker buried him in cement, which it was told later a ruse to help Kane. He had several horrible moments at the end of his WWE career, including a run with Edge, where specifically I remember moments where Edge was pouring hot wings on him and Paul Bearer was trapped in a wheelchair.
I believe he was throwing pizza slices at him at one point.
There was pizza, there was hot wings. Eventually, the last time we saw Paul Bearer, he was locked in a walk-in freezer and thrown downstairs. I just remember many moments of that. But yeah, the last time we saw Paul Bearer on television was locked in a freezer. He also, sadly, has passed away. Last about a year ago. I believe it was March 5th, 2013. Percy Pringle died. But his presence was still felt on WWE television as CM Punk brought out the ashes of Paul Bearer in his feud against The Undertaker leading into WrestleMania 29, eventually dumping some of the ashes on The Undertaker.
Yes, my Undertaker.
Yes, mocking Paul Bearer. Anyway, Paul Bearer heading to the WWE Hall of Fame this year, joining Jake the Snake Roberts, Lita, and the Ultimate Warrior.
Well deserved, well deserved. TNA title changes in Japan. There was a joint Wrestle 1 show with TNA and Wrestle 1 that took place over the weekend. The Bromance defeated the Wolves and recaptured the Tag Team Championships. Also, Saya Sanada defeated Austin Aries for the X Division title. Sanada will now compete at Lockdown along with the legendary Great Muta and Tigre Uno, formerly Extreme Tiger, taking on the team of Bad Influence and Chris Sabin in the all-steel cage event.
I don't get how this is happening a lot lately, especially with this tag title. It's swapping hands where people can't even see these matches here in the States, or they don't see it because it's on a house show.
This particular match, this event was taped for a later a TNA, one of these one-night-only pay-per-views that they're doing.
Oh yeah, like
So-
bringing in Tommy Dreamer and stuff
Yes,
like that.
exactly.
Yeah. Just kind of odd that these titles are swapping hands so frequently.
Well, it could just be, it shows you that that's why you got to go to these house shows. You might see a title change hands.
Later on, we'll have our predictions on the TNA Lockdown pay-per-view event. And so far, my record is 5-2, and he is 6-1. Anyway, that's coming up later. In other news, WWE NXT Arrival debuted on the WWE Network. It was the first live show on the WWE Network. Stephanie McMahon herself came out to greet the audience at Full Sail University. And I gotta say, what a show. What an amazing show. It was highlighted by Cesaro taking on Sami Zayn in one of the best television matches that I've seen in quite a long time. And then later we had the NXT ladder match for the title, the NXT title. Adrian Neville against Bo Dallas. Actually, another thing that I saw on this NXT episode was the women. Got to see Paige and Emma actually be all right and tolerable, and
Unlike how she is on Raw and SmackDown.
right,
You know?
she put on a great.
Not Emma annoying, just
No.
Emma.
It was actually entertaining. A great match between Paige and Emma. Paige won that match, keeping her women's division her women's division title. Cesaro beat Sami Zayn, and Adrian Neville became the new champion of NXT in that ladder match against Bo Dallas, who smiles an awful lot.
Yeah, that seems to be his thing. Also, we had an impressive showing of a tag team that we heard a lot about, the Ascension.
Oh
Where
yes.
The Ascension overcame the surprise team of Too Cool who competed on this event.
Scotty Too Hottie and
Scotty
Grandmaster
Too Hottie,
Sexy.
Grandmaster Sexy.
Anyway, that's our news for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up next, we're going to have our SmackDown report, results from SmackDown, and our thoughts.
Here we are with our SmackDown report. Our first match we're covering this week is the Real Americans versus Big E and Mark Henry. There seemed to be a little bit of tension between the Real Americans before this match even started. Swagger started the match, but the Real Americans really didn't take control until Cesaro tagged in. And the tension became apparent again as Swagger tagged himself in just prior to Cesaro hitting the superplex of Big E off the apron. And yet, later on, they continued, and it seemed like everything was fine. They worked well as a team. Once Cesaro tagged back in, they double team maneuvers, no problems at all. Later on, we see Big E get taken out by Cesaro, and Swagger is able to lock in the Patriot lock on Henry. And at this time, this is where Cesaro tags himself back in, and he puts Henry away with a neutralizer. Let's take a look and see how this went down.
Big E is nowhere to help. And now Cesaro makes the tag. Little payback from earlier on in the match.
Hey, Zip Coulter may not like it, but this is entertaining.
Cesaro biding his time, picked his spot.
I love it.
What is Cesaro gonna... He's not gonna do this. He's gonna try the neutralizer on Mark Henry. Cesaro gonna try to lift his 400-pound man into the neutralizer. This is incredible, and he does!
That was unbelievable.
Cesaro with the cover in the Real American.
Now, the thing about this is, you specifically have vehemently denied that there's any sort of animosity between We the People with Jack Swagger.
That's correct, I did.
And Cesaro. But it's quite obvious.
I'm willing to admit that I was wrong. There's a first time for everything. And this is it.
And tag in and steal a win. That's
You're
exactly.
welcome. I was wrong here.
Yep.
First time ever.
Yes.
First time ever.
Yes. Well, not
Glad
first
you
time
agree.
ever. No. Quite wrong all the time. You folks at home know that,
Oh,
obviously.
no.
Anyway,
But I gotta say, though, what do you think's going on here, Steve?
honestly, I think that Cesaro is going to move on to bigger and better things. In the end, after watching NXT Arrival
Coach
there.
Zeb's got his workout.
Yeah, he does. And Zeb's the glue. Zeb's the glue of this team so far. So far, that's what's been keeping them together. So who knows? Maybe Zeb will work his magic and they'll continue on their tag team pathways. But I don't know.
It's going to be up to Zeb.
It is. It really is. And then later, we had Alberto Del Rio took on Sheamus. Now, earlier in the night, Alberto Del Rio approaches Vicky Guerrero, saying that he wanted a rubber match with Batista because, you know, Batista beat him at the pay-per-view there, and then Alberto Del Rio beat him on Raw, I believe it was.
But is he only asking here because he wants to make it look like he's asking, even though he knows that Batista's already in a match?
Well, it doesn't matter. He wants his rematch. I mean, it's a rubber match. He wants to get that victory over Batista. Alberto Del Rio is no slouch at all. So, yeah, he goes to Vicky Guerrero, says, I want this match. She's like, he's already in a match. He's like, good, then I want the night off. And Vicky's like, I don't think so. So Sheamus shows up. Yeah, that's when Sheamus shows up. Says, you want a match tonight on television, fella? You have a match with me, for old time's sake. And then, so, there we go. The match begins. Christian comes out.
Joins the commentary team.
He wants to be on the commentary team. Del Rio hits 2 super kicks in a row. Not enough to put him away. Del Rio misses a disaster kick, and then Sheamus locks in the cloverleaf. Let's go ahead and check out and see how this match ended right now.
WWE World Heavyweight Champion. I want that top spot. And like I said, if it costs me friends, I don't really care.
You got to start winning matches.
Hey, the way I figure it is, I'm going to win matches. I'm going to be the WWE World Heavyweight Champion.
Oh! Missed. Sheamus caught him. Sheamus going for the cloverleaf.
Come on.
Sheamus going for the cloverleaf. Del Rio trying to battle out of this. This is a submission maneuver. If he can roll, Del Rio already does. And Sheamus now cloverleaf. And where the heck is he going? Christian from behind. Now that looks like a bitter man. And now Sheamus fighting back. See you, Christian.
Well, there you have it. Christian gets involved there. He's got a bone to pick with Sheamus, apparently.
Well, if you're Sheamus going around with a loaded boot, allegedly loaded boot like he says, and you're Christian, you've been on the receiving end of this accidental brogue kick with the said loaded boot, alleged again, I would, if I'm Christian, yeah, I'm going to take him out.
Well,
I got to send a message.
This goes all the way back to the Elimination Chamber. Obviously, there's a little hard feelings there as they pretty much eliminated each other.
I'm talking about going back before that in that tag match leading up to it where, like I said, Sheamus allegedly kicked him accidentally.
Christian's desperate now too. He's getting up there in age. He's gonna be doing some crazy stuff. I have a feeling he just wants to keep his name alive.
He's Captain Charisma. He's got, like he said, Sheamus wants his job title that he wants. He wants the job title of WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Sheamus can't have that title if he wants it. Well, our next matchup here was Batista and Dolph Ziggler. Earlier in the night, we heard from Batista questioning where all the real men were now in WWE. And he's told the WWE Universe that he would destroy all of their heroes on his path to the title at WrestleMania. Enter the show-off Dolph Ziggler, who called Batista a dinosaur before drop-kicking him. Cut to the match now, and Batista was caught off guard early on, but took control, establishing his power game with Dolph on the outside, and before Dolph could make a brave comeback, but ultimately the power of Batista proved to be just too much. 3 spine busters, Batista bomb.
Dolph's no match for the animal.
And it's also a message, John, to the WWE Universe.
Yes, it is. I think Batista was shocked that somebody had the audacity to come out here and challenge him. Batista's sending a message. This is no longer about Dolph Ziggler.
I think he was shocked that the WWE fans had the audacity to boo him when he returned. And now Batista
bomb.
Planting Ziggler.
Good night.
Will that be Orton at WrestleMania?
Count to 10.
Dolph, right there, another loss. Tough times for Dolph. Hopefully he can get back on track here.
Impressive win for Batista, though, his best outing yet since his return.
Daniel Bryan and the Usos teamed up to take on Kane and the New Age or Old Age Outlaws. Outlaws very vocal, yelling at the announce team even, and the crowd and the ref. Jay was mocking the New Age Outlaws. Outlaws controlled the match early on though, and Bryan got a hot tag and then took mad control of this match. Daniel Bryan, whenever he gets in the intensity. Let's go on and take a look and see how that happened.
Got the shoulder up.
Yes, he did. It was a 2 count. Billy can't believe it. I have a hard time believing it, too.
Bryan lands on his feet, out of the corner. Daniel Bryan fighting back. Here comes Bryan. Running knee caught him. The running knee caught him. Daniel Bryan and the Usos with the win.
There you have it. Daniel Bryan always comes in, picks up the pace. He always with the yes chants. The fans back him so much. Kane entered illegally, kicks Bryan's head off, then tries to double choke slam on the Usos. But the Usos counter with super kicks, and then take out, Kane with splashes on the floor. Billy tries to hit that famouser, doesn't work. Bryan kicks out of it, hits Road Dogg there, or no, he hits Billy with a flying knee, and there you have it. Win for Daniel Bryan and the Usos. Who knows? Usos might have titles in their future. Daniel Bryan has maybe a title in his future.
Could be. Slick Willie did look good here for the Road Dogg team of the Outlaws.
That's what you're calling Billy Gunn these days?
That's what Road Dogg's killing Billy Gunn these days. It's a good name for him.
Slick Willie. I prefer the days when he was Mr. Ass.
I prefer when he was a janitor at
In
TNA.
TNA, yeah, that was actually pretty good. When he was wearing women's clothing, no.
I don't recall that. I blocked it out.
Coming up next, it's our Raw report.
And to start off our Raw report, we continue right where our SmackDown report left off. The Outlaws, New Age that is, not Old Age. New Age Outlaws, Road Dogg and Slick Willie versus the Usos.
Mr. Ass.
Outlaws were in control of this one early on. Back and forth action going on, and finally we get to a point. Billy hits his tilt-a-whirl slam. He goes for hit his famouser, but he misses it. And what happens next? Well, let's take a look and see.
Going for the famouser here. Oh, he missed it. Nobody home. Tag made! Tag made to Jay! As Jimmy took out Road Dogg! Jay the legal man!
What a kick. We have us a flying Uso on deck. Jay hits this. We got new tag team champions.
Jay hits it!
He hit it.
Hook of the leg! Shoulders down! He got it! New tag team champions! The Usos!
There you saw it, folks. Jay tags Jimmy as he dives onto Road Dogg on the floor. Jimmy hits Billy with a thrust kick, and then he comes with a splash off the ropes. Gets the 1, 2, 3. New tag team champions. It's almost like somebody predicted this in the last segment after he already watched this segment.
I predicted this at Elimination Chamber. I was just a few matches short of being absolutely correct. So, yeah, the Usos are the tag champions, which was inevitable because of the way that they're performing at the level. And not to mention those elderly old geezers were the tag team champions at the time. I don't know how they won them in the first place. The Old Age Outlaws. You won't see them wrestle anymore, I bet. I bet you they won't even wrestle anymore. They're going to go back to eating pudding or whatever it is they do.
Earlier in the pre-show, I heard Road Dogg say that he has children the same age as the Usos. And I'm like, really? You're going to admit to that right now?
And Mr. S did wear women's clothing. That was back in the TNA days. Anyway, moving on. We had the Shield take on the Wyatts, a rematch from Elimination Chamber. And oh boy, was this one good too. Not as good as the Elimination Chamber match, but this one was incredible in its own right. And there was a little side subplot going on here, a little side thing going on. Seth Rollins. Rollins came out just gunning. He did a couple somersault flips on 2 members of the Shield right out of the gates. He was controlling the match. Chaos ensued. Then Rollins just kind of got stuck out there for several minutes. The Wyatt family was taking care of Reigns and Ambrose on the outside, And Rollins was in the corner of the Wyatts shortly after that.
They had
3
him
against 1.
isolated, really keeping him doing well, a good job of keeping the ring cut off, keeping him from getting to either of his partners until he was finally able to get over to Ambrose.
Yes, finally Ambrose gets tagged in, and then Ambrose gets stuck in there in the Wyatt's corner. And Bray just takes out Roman Reigns at one point on the apron. Ambrose hit this glorious DDT on Bray. Tries to tag Rollins in, and Seth Rollins is just like, you know what? And he's got this face on him like he is just angry. Rollins steps off the apron, heads up the ramp. Reigns tries to stop him. Hey, like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? And Rollins said, I'm tired of being the glue that keeps you guys together. You guys go out there, you figure it out. That's what was happening there. Reigns hit that Superman punch to Harper at one point. He speared Rowan over the announce table. Then Harper dives over the announce table to Reigns at the same table.
And then, in the chaos, Bray Wyatt takes out Ambrose with Sister Abigail's kiss.
Yes, and then the Wyatts win once again. The Wyatts win against the Shield. They seem to have the Shield's number. But let's go on and let's show you folks how that went down.
13,731 on hand here tonight.
And Ambrose just inches away from it.
Wait a minute. Dean Ambrose was crawling to the corner to make a tag to the architect of the Shield, the man who's kept peace in this group for a long time, Seth Rollins. And Seth Rollins had no interest, and I believe Seth Rollins is walking out of here, guys.
You're kidding me.
Bray Wyatt looking to feed on Ambrose.
How can Seth Rollins just stand there and watch his team crumble?
Harper, Rowan, and Reigns are strewn their bodies throughout ringside. And now Bray Wyatt with Sister Abigail. And the Wyatt family of Congress.
Steve, what is going on with the Shield here?
Oh, I think it's obvious. Seth Rollins is fed up with trying to keep them together, being the architect of the Shield that he
Worst
is.
nickname ever.
He's trying to.
Thank you,
He's
Michael.
tried, and the animosity between Ambrose and Rollins, who's the leader, who's not, it's been getting sickening for Rollins. So I think actually what's going to break this team up is Rollins himself. He's going to walk away from this team. You know he is.
I don't know that.
Oh,
I don't know that they're not going to work this out.
You really think that they're?
I'm not going to say that they are.
They have been able
I'm not
to.
going to say that they're not. I'm just saying that I don't know how this is going to turn out.
It's possible. You're right. They could work things out.
It could be that just one guy gets excommunicated or fired, whatever you want to call it.
Who's that going to be?
And they bring in a new guy.
Oh, that would be a terrible idea.
It happens with bands all the time.
Just what you want to see El Torito in the Shield.
Obviously,
that'd be great.
Obviously, it wouldn't be somebody like that.
Well, I mean,
It'd have to be somebody of
and no knock on
same
Torito
caliber.
because that guy is very talented.
He can go.
He can go. Anyway,
But yeah, it's just
big win for the Wyatts.
Huge win for the Wyatts, and
Don't stray.
and it puts the Shield back where they had them after the Elimination Chamber in their rearview mirror, moving on towards John Cena and shifting gears there.
Yeah.
Take him out. Moving on, our next match here was Christian versus Sheamus. They've met a lot recently. We saw on SmackDown where Christian laid out Sheamus after his match with Alberto Del Rio. Well, actually, before the match was even done because he felt the need to attack him.
He gave Sheamus a win in that match, just for the record.
Fair enough.
That was
fair
kind
enough.
of him.
That was kind of him because we don't know that he was going to get Alberto to tap out. Alberto probably could have worked his way out of that cloverweed leaf, I'm sure of that.
Anyway, Christian and Sheamus.
But Christian and Sheamus, though, got underway here. Sheamus dominated this match early on. Christian was able to regroup briefly, but couldn't quite keep it going. Then Sheamus hit a couple Irish Curse backbreakers. And Christian hid behind the announce table.
He didn't hide behind the announce table.
Well, he attempted to hide behind the announce table. I'm sorry.
Sheamus did have to chase him down a couple times.
Yes. But I want to say that Christian was able to take and whip Sheamus into the timekeeper's table and take control here. Sheamus eventually, though, he comes back and he hits. He hits him with a bro kick from the apron on the outside and is able to get the pin. But where the real news happens is after the match, and let's take a look.
It's my career.
Oh, man. Wait a minute.
You think you're better than me? Huh? You think you're better than me? Come on! You think you're better than me? I said don't underestimate me. Don't underestimate me.
Oh, watch out.
Hey, come on. Hey, that's enough. Come on. Come on.
More of a message from Christian that he's being sent here with what he's doing to Sheamus here.
Beating him with a light. Christian's desperate. Oh, and you know what's most important, at least to me, was after this match, Alberto Del Rio got a loss from Dolph Ziggler. Showing off. Go Dolph. And then we had Daniel Bryan taking on Batista.
Yes, Bryan and Batista. Early on we
Main
saw...
event.
Yes. Early on in this match, we see Bryan on the offense with a series of kicks. Orton's there. He's at ringside watching this at the commentary table, looking to see what everything is going on. Batista was able to power back though. He put Bryan controlled this match for the most part until the Authority shows up.
No. Batista got Batista took control at one point, and he was overpowering Bryan. But the Authority did show up, and he gave Batista an advantage here.
Yes, but Bryan was back in control when the Authority showed up, correct?
Well, yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
See, there we go. That's why I was going with that. I'm sorry. So the Authority's there. It allows a distraction for Batista to drive Bryan into the steps and then purposely whip him into Orton, who then gets himself involved in the match by not attacking Batista, but attacking Bryan, so that Batista will be disqualified.
Let's take a look at how that went down.
Batista said he didn't give a damn. It's all about himself. Oh! Daniel Bryan caught him. Joe! Bryan caught him, both men down. And what an oh, look at this. Now Randy Orton. What's Orton going to do? He goes after Bryan. Why did he go after Daniel Bryan? Uh-oh, now he's turning his venom to the animal. Randy Orton stalking Batista. Went for the RKO. No! There's the knee!
Extracurricular activity after this match?
Randy Orton?
Randy Orton's there. Not just Randy Orton, though. The Authority enters the ring. We have Triple H leaning over Daniel Bryan, telling him that he's sick of this crap, and he gets a good kick
Kick to the head.
Mouth.
Yep.
That didn't sit well.
Of course it doesn't sit well with Triple H.
We get up with a Batista bomb on Bryan, followed up by a pedigree, and that's how we ended the show there.
Yeah.
With the Authority standing triumphant over
Daniel Bryan. Pathetic. Pathetic. If you're running the company, you sure don't set a good example for your employees, I'll tell you that. Like, if you're going to do this to your employees, that's horrible. And Kane shouldn't even be touching people, let alone Triple H. And it was Stephanie yes chanting like that.
Let's talk about the good news, though.
Oh, Batista.
Yes.
Batista's back, baby.
That's
and
right.
Douchebag again. Wearing stupid skinny jeans was one thing, but wearing sunglasses and a knit cap and acting like you're the man is a completely another thing.
Don't forget the little nose ring that he's been wearing, too.
Oh, it's glorious to have dumb Batista back.
I love it. Batista's the man.
Douche-tista. I love him. Anyway, coming up next, we are going to hit our TNA report, where we will also pick our TNA picks for Lockdown.
As reported last week, the Wolves captured the tag team titles in Morgantown, West Virginia.
The Bromans sought to join Team Rude, but Bobby Roode doesn't sign up losers.
Thus, Bobby Roode gave the Bromance and Bad Influence one more opportunity to join Team Rude. If either team could be victorious in this three-way tag team match with the Wolves.
Yeah, then they'll join Team Rude at Lockdown. Three-way tag team match with the Wolves. Bromance cut out of action early with a back and forth between the Wolves and Bad Influence. Robbie E makes his way to the Wolves' corner, then tags himself in. Why don't you see for yourself? We're going to check out how this match turned out.
By Eddie Edwards out to the floor. Now he's going to concentrate.
Legal man, no. Dave looks like Davey Richards tagged Eddie Edwards, so the legal man is climbing those ropes right now.
Yeah, double foot stomp from the back.
I love the howl.
Edwards, Richards from the top. Set, but keep your eyes. Wait, did you see the tag right there? Yeah, the referee saw it. That makes Robbie legal.
Look at this. Little Robbie.
Covered.
He's got it.
And the Bromance stealing.
And there you had it, folks. Mr. Spectacular takes and throws Richards out of the ring, allowing the now legal man, Robbie E., to steal the victory, and the Bromance is now members of Team Rude.
I thought Bobby Roode didn't sign up losers, but the Bromance did get the win. Sure, granted they got the win, but I don't have a lot of faith in the Bromance.
Hey, they're the tag team
I'm pulling for Team Rude.
They're the tag team champions. We covered that in the news segment at the top of the show. They recaptured the tag titles over in Japan.
Right, but that was...
So they're winners now.
Well, now? But what's going to happen at Lockdown?
Well...
And who's this mystery partner MVP has? I have a feeling it's going to be Relic.
Very well.
Yeah.
Very well.
Murder spelled back, or killer spelled backwards, Relic.
I have
two matches.
I have other sources on the matter, but we'll come to that during our Lockdown picks. Now, right now...
It was EC3 taking on the returning Doug Williams. In EC3 is trying to make a name for himself. We haven't seen Doug Williams for a little while. They're in England. Doug Williams, hometown hero. EC3 nails Williams with a low blow, though, which allowed him to finish him off with the 1%. Let's see how it happened. Check it out, folks.
Inducted into the TNA Hall of Fame, but what's the story behind those tweets?
Oh, I don't know. There's a story behind that low blow where referee Earl Hebner did not see it. He was walking past it. Oh, there's the 1%er. Oh, Doug Williams might be kaput. He might be done.
EC3 follows up the 1% with the cover and the 3 count.
There you have it. EC3 trying to make a name for himself, taking out some big names. I see the future with this kid in TNA, and I think we've talked about this.
We have talked about this guy is good.
I don't know how he slipped past Vince McMahon and the WWE. This guy was incredible. Well, maybe he didn't show enough promise over there.
What? You're telling me that Ethan Carter III was in NXT?
Yeah, he went by a different name though.
Oh yeah,
Derek Bateman.
You mean he's not really a wait?
No, he's a Carter.
He's a Carter.
The Derek Bateman was the WWE's name for him.
Of course.
Then later we had Kurt Angle finally getting his TNA Hall of Fame induction.
I bet that's really on the top of the Hall of Fame that he's in. I mean, Kurt's already in the National Wrestling Hall of Fame as an amateur, and I'm sure that TNA Hall of Fame right up there at the top.
There's two guys in the TNA Hall of Fame now, Sting and Kurt Angle, and both of them are fairly active at this point. So you think the first guy that would have went in would be Jeff Jarrett, because he's the founder of the company. But no, apparently Sting and Kurt Angle are
Why
more
not
important.
Ken Shamrock, the first champion?
Why not R-Truth?
Because he's in another company.
Well, still. Christian? Anyway, Jeremy Borash was there to present Kurt Angle with the illustrious Rolex.
Timex.
It was a Rolex. Well,
Casio.
they make us one. They had a Rolex box anyway. He tells Angle and tells the fans that Angle really changed the game for TNA, which he did when he showed up. TNA, their biggest acquisition at that point, had been Christian. So, Angle changes the game and the business forever. Actually, I think that's what Borash said, was he changed the business forever, whatever that means in TNA lingo. He presented a highlight package of Jeremy Borash to Kurt Angle and the fans. Thanked Kurt again. Kurt Angle thanked the fans. Said that he was supposed to be inducted in October, but he wasn't in a good place personally and professionally. And if you follow this sort of thing, Angle had some trouble with alcohol, the court system.
Enough of all that. EC3 shows up and saves this segment.
No. It's a Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah, and he had a video package of his own.
He did, and it was almost adamantly worthy. It wasn't bad enough. It was pretty silly.
It was pretty silly. It wasn't really terrible.
Carter also said that he read on the internet that Kurt Angle had a torn MCL and ACL. Angle, however...
Angle asked him, is like, do you believe everything that you read on it? He's like, it's on the internet, it has to be true, because if it's on the internet, it's right 50% of the time.
So Angle was like, yeah, it's not true. I'm healthy, I'm clear. And then he punches EC3. Right in the kisser. Right in the gullet.
And that was pretty much how this segment went down. Oh, and he said that MVP had granted him a open contract as a Hall of Fame gift, and now we have EC3 versus Angle at Lockdown.
Lockdown. Coming up, our Lockdown picks here in a minute.
Segueing here further, though, next match, MVP versus Rude with Austin Aries as a guest referee. Both members had tried to recruit Aries to their teams, respectively.
Yep. And Aries was kind of at a crossroads because he's had a history with Rude, and it wasn't good. Well, it wasn't good. They kind of actually Aries beat Rude for the TNA Championship at one point, and MVP is a virtual unknown to Austin Aries. So
the devil you know or the devil you don't know.
Exactly.
Well, when we go into this match, let's take a look at the end of this match and see what Austin chose.
Momentum off the rope. It's stopped. Perfectly placed drop kick to the knee of Rude.
Front of the kneecap, the patella area. Good way to kind of disconnect your knee joint a bit. Slow you down a little bit for sure. And MVP, he might be looking for that Akusa kick.
Oh, what the hell was that?
Think we have an idea what team Austin Aries is going to be on. Oh, buddy.
Oh, Rude's got MVP up, and there's the Rude bomb. Wow. Aries counts 2. Aries counts 3. And I'm with you.
Aries nails MVP with the elbow, and Rude hits the Rude bomb. Aries has joined Team Rude as Rude gets this win.
It's quite obvious. Maybe there is hope for Team Rude at Lockdown. Yeah. But then again, who's going to be this mystery partner of MVP? Is it?
I'm going to go with Jeff Hardy.
Sure it's not going to be Jeff Jarrett?
Yes.
Sure it's not going to be Matt Morgan?
Time to move on for our Lockdown picks here.
Yes.
First match we have on the card here, we have in this all steel cage lineup. We have Bad Influence with Chris Sabin versus the team of Great Muta, the new X Division champion Sonata, and the debuting Tigre Uno. I've got the Great Muta team here. What do you got?
Yeah, I got Great Muta, Sonata, and Tigre Uno too. It just seems like that's obvious.
Next, we had Mr. Anderson versus Samuel Shaw.
I got Mr. Anderson. I think big things are coming from Mr. Anderson against the stalker and Adam Lee award-winning Samuel Shaw.
I too have Anderson.
Then we got then we got Kurt Angle taking on EC3. Controversy from the Hall of Fame.
I don't think Angle's quite 100% here. I'm going with EC3.
You can't bet against Kurt Angle, no matter who he's up against. The man's a legend. I'm going with Kurt Angle.
Next, we have Gunner versus James Storm.
The Garbage Man versus the Drunk.
I'm going with the one half of the future Beer Money tag team, James Storm.
I too am going to have to pick James Storm on this.
Women's title match, Madison Rayne versus Gail Kim. I've got Gail Kim. Who do you have?
Madison retains her title, stays the women's champion. That's who I bet.
The control of the company, Team Rude versus Team MVP. I'm going to go with Team MVP here.
Rude, Bromance, and Aries versus MVP, the Wolves, and Relic, or whoever it is. I'm gonna go with MVP, the Wolves, and the mystery partner. Then we have our championship match, the main event. Magnus versus Samoa Joe, TNA title on the line. Who do you got?
I've got Magnus.
Oh, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Samoa Joe is going to be the new TNA champion. Samoa Joe has got big things coming for him in the future.
I hope you're right.
It's about time.
I hope you're right.
Anyway, I was 5-2 at this point. He's 6-1. I think after this, I'm going to have complete domination. That's our lockdown card, our lockdown picks, and our TNA report for this week. Coming up next,
The Adam Lee.
the Adam Lee Award. It's that time of the week, ladies and gentlemen. The best time of the show. The Golden Adam Lee Awards. The award for the worst thing in professional wrestling for the week.
And the first thing we have in our nominees comes from Total Nonstop Action Wrestling.
Where quality wrestling is always what they do. That's the only thing they do.
Of course, James Storm apparently doesn't care about the troops.
Yeah.
Let's take a listen and find out.
Words for Gunner. Let's listen.
And a thank you. You know, when I was in the Marine Corps, a thank you was standing beside your friend, was going to war with your friend. That was thank you enough. And you know why? You can sit at home and drink a cold beer. You know why? Because of men like me. Because my friends that went over there and died. That's why you can drink cold beer and do what you do. I chose my path.
You chose your path? You chose to be like a robot, to have a gun put in your head, to go over there? Let me tell you something, man. Whether you lived or you died, no one gave a damn.
That's brutal. So he doesn't care if a military officer dies in battle. Nobody give it a damn.
In his defense, I think he was just talking about Gunner.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, otherwise that's just poor taste. I mean, there's supporting the troops.
Either way, that's
not
bad.
giving a shit about
That's
the
just
troops. That was bad.
Bad.
That's our first Adam Lee. Also, of course we had Christy Hemme, and
where's Christy Hemme, there's gotta be her stalker,
Samuel Shaw. Let's check out and see what Shaw was up to this week.
Because women like Christy Hemme are always available.
I think Samuel Shaw just saw a side of Christy Hemme he didn't know existed. Total disrespect by this young man. Oh, watch her.
Just when you think Samuel Shaw cannot stoop any lower. First of all, he pretty much calls Christy Hemme a slut, saying women like her are always available. And then, you know, TNA, and they love violence towards women. So he whips Christy Hemme at Mr. Anderson, knocking him over. I mean, using her as a weapon pretty much. This is bad. This is just bad. It's poor taste. Women and men fighting in wrestling, just always bad. It's really bad.
I don't know. Is it always? What about Andy Kaufman?
Well, okay, Andy Kaufman was weak.
There we go.
This is a trained professional wrestler, ladies and gentlemen.
But other than Andy Kaufman, it's bad.
Samuel Shaw has just been a brilliant character.
It's bad.
Anyway, we have one more clip.
One more segment.
One more Adam Lee nomination. One more thing. And of course it wouldn't be an Adam Lee award.
We shift to the WWE, and we shift to our nominee from the WWE for the past couple of weeks.
It seems like every week it's Samuel Shaw and Emma.
Yes.
Every week there's something bad by them.
Let's see what Emma was up to this week.
Brightest 18-year-old kid in 4th grade. So it's Santino starting things off against Fandango here, live on Monday Night Raw.
It looks like
This is
2 car wrecks in one garage.
So now it's Emma going to start things off with Summer Rae, tag made to Santino, which means Fandango has to come back in the ring. It's mixed tag team rules.
Wait, they tagged
men against men, divas against divas.
You know what it is? Santino's high-fiving Emma, and he doesn't realize he's tagging her.
Not understanding this. Summer Rae is ready to get herself a little revenge. Now, is that a legal tag?
The ref
Come on, Santino. How long have you been a professional wrestler? You know how a tag team works. Just because you high-five her, you can't high-five your tag team partner and not think she's the legal man. I think this was just more frustrating for Fandango. And you know what? This wasn't even Emma's fault. She was great on NXT.
As good as she was on NXT, that's how bad she was here. And not so much her, just her tag team partner that she's been paired with here.
It's constant wackiness. It's constant silliness. Santino and Emma, the Cobra, the dance.
It's not even wacky. It's just bad.
It's gotten to that point, folks, where you kind of don't even want to see Santino anymore.
I don't want to see Santino anymore.
I do. Sometimes. As long as he's funny. He hasn't been funny in about 2 years.
There you go.
So what was the worst of the worst? Which of the three wins the Golden Adamle this week, do you think?
Well, I gotta go with James Storm here.
Really?
That's what I'm thinking.
The troops? I mean, it was just a verbal thing. I was thinking Santino.
You're right. You're right, because normally I go for just bad, laugh out loud. I don't go for bad just in bad taste.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was in poor taste. But the thing of the three that actually made me laugh a little bit was this, because it was pathetic. And that's why it made me laugh. Anyway, that's our Golden Adamle this week. Santino and Emma tag teaming and not understanding the difference between a high five and a tag, because they're the same thing. Anyway. That's the Ring Zone this week.
Make sure you check us out on Twitter at Ring Zone TV and also on Facebook at the Ring Zone. That's all for this week, folks. We'll see you next week.
Thanks
in the
for
Ring
watching.
Zone.